This week on SnowTrax Test Ride, we're going to talk about and take a deep dive on Polaris' new four-stroke engine. This twin-cylinder, double overhead cam, 1000cc four-stroke motor has a lot of unique features that cater to a specific kind of rider. Today, we're going to try and explode a few myths about what this sled is all about. Okay, let's not Mickey Mouse around here with words. Let's get straight on what this whole four-stroke thing is about in the marketplace. Fuel economy and not having to carry injector oil. And that's exactly what you get with the new Polaris ProStar. It's a dry sump motor, so it carries its oil in a separate tank, allows them to put the motor lower in the belly pan, and it gets arguably 15% better fuel economy than anything in its class. This motor is highly unusual in that it is a twin-cylinder motor, but it sounds like a V-twin. It happens through what we call a 270/90 firing order. This motor does not use 270/90, it uses 270/450. The reason for the 270/450 firing order, which preserves that Harley-esque kind of noise, is cold weather starting is improved for a four-stroke motor, but amongst its four-stroke brethren, it gets outstanding gas mileage. Okay, so we know our viewers are predisposed with horsepower and you want to know what that number is for this sled. Polaris kind of dipped and ducked around a lot on that detail when the motor was first introduced. Here's the deal, it's between 90 and 95 horsepower, which positions it very competitively in the four-stroke non-turbo marketplace. Interestingly, this engine delivers its power in a very two-stroke-ish way, but this engine has a really nice low-end gob of torque, and then in the mid-range when it transitions, it doesn't nose over and go flat on you. It starts to rev, and for all intents, you'd think it was a two-stroke at shift RPM, which is just over 8,000 RPM. Unique to the ProStar four-stroke engine is what we call a tri-mode throttle. It's three different ways that the flipper responds and delivers power as you squeeze it and use it and transition it. If you're a gearhead, you want to go fast, you're probably not in line to buy one of these. However, if you do want to get the maximum thrust and maximum speed, you would put it in performance because it picks up almost 300 RPM at shift RPM. It goes up to 8,300, and the throttle is definitely very responsive. For a lot of riders, they're going to want the mid-range throttle, and the mid-range is really good, covers a lot of bases. It feels progressive, a little bit softer, not jerky. And here's the good news, and this is big news in the world of drive-by-wire throttles. No throttle lag, and that's appreciated by a lot of people who ride four-strokes. So you're asking, who is going to buy a mid-90s horsepower four-stroke snowmobile? What's that demographic look like? It's big, it's a big part of the market, and market leader Skidoo sells more four-stroke snowmobiles than any other maker, in fact everybody else combined. This sled is clearly targeted at the 900 Ace triple non-turbo motor for sure, which puts out between 95 and 100 claimed horsepower. So that is who we believe this is targeted at and who will ultimately buy this snowmobile. The buyer of this sled, as well as the buyer of Skidoo's 900 Ace, are definitely predisposed to big mile touring. Big mile tourers are fussy about a couple of things. Probably the biggest is they don't want to carry injector oil because they're traveling and saddlebagging and they just don't want the inconvenience. Also, they want four-stroke reliability, ease of maintenance. That's the kind of guy who's going to buy this. Guys who like radar runs and who ditch bang, this is not your snowmobile, okay? This is a full-on Indy Matrix platform with the S4 motor in it. There's no compromises, nothing's been pulled out of the chassis that would affect its handling in a negative way. Polaris's handle like they're on rails, very predictable, they turn in nice. It's just a great package. And that is what you get when you get the S4. You get a full-on Matrix chassis, and this is the real deal. We do have to come to grips with the fact that this snowmobile is not light. In fact, it is quite a bit heavier than the 900 Ace it competes with. However, most of our fleet of test riders here all agree that you cannot feel the weight, it's inconsequential, and the handling is not undermined by it. This is the same S4 that is now used in the Titan. The Titan weighs over 700 pounds and is a formidable utility snowmobile. The S4 performs admirably in that chassis. In fact, I think you could push over a house with it. It's so torquey with the lower range gearing and the dual range transmission. My final observations are rooted in personal preference, is that it's an Indy and it's a Matrix, and the handling is just as good as any other Polaris with that motor. That's what I can tell you that I experienced. The sled handles like it's on rails. It's really predictable, it's smooth, and you know what else? I think it looks nice. I think it's got a nice profile from the side and from 3/4 from the rear. It's a good looking snowmobile. You owe it to yourself, if you're a 4-stroke buyer in this class, to go to your Polaris store and see this sled in person, and if you can, get a ride on it. I think you'll be impressed.